Hey everyone! So for this week I thought it'd be nice to do something a little bit different, and a video that I have had requested for kind of some time now, and I felt like with everything going on within the crafting world that it'd be the perfect time to finally talk about the Cricut versus the Silhouette and why I changed from my Cricut machine after using it for 1 year to using a Silhouette now. I've had a lot of people ask me about the Cricut machine, and I even have a quite popular tutorial about how to make sticker sheets with my Cricut. So it might be a surprise to some of you to hear that I actually no longer use my Cricut and I only use my Silhouette machine. So I just kind of want to run through why I changed to a Silhouette, why I no longer use my Cricut, and how this might affect you as somebody who is looking for a new cutting machine. I feel like anybody who's starting out and thinking about making stickers at home always goes through this phase of whether or not they should be buying a Cricut or if they should be buying a Silhouette. So I want to make this video for anybody who is kind of in that space right now, or is somebody who already owns a Cricut and is thinking about buying a Silhouette. Now, I don't see many people who want to go from Silhouette to Cricut, but maybe this video is interesting for you if you're just curious about what the differences are. Also, this video is going to be particularly for making stickers and making sticker sheets. I don't really have any experience using either machine for crafting, so I know that they can cut through things like fabrics and vinyl, but I've never used it for anything other than making stickers. So I'm going to be talking mainly about which machine is better for making stickers, because that's what I use it for. Now, the two machines I'll be talking about are the ones that I own. I don't have experience with the other machines, so I can only talk about these two, but the two that I have are the Cricut Explore Air 2 and the Silhouette Cameo 4. So I think without further ado, I'm gonna just go right into it and tell you why I switched from a Cricut machine to a Silhouette and haven't looked back since. So the main reason why I switched over from my Cricut to my Silhouette is simply because of the cut size. Cricut Design Space has a limitation of how big you can do a print and cut. It is limited to only 6.75 inches by 9.25 inches. And while that size works for a letter size piece of paper, it doesn't really work well for A4 and above. If you ever wanted to cut an entire A4 sheet or anything bigger using the print and cut feature, that just simply isn't possible using Cricut Design Space. I use A4 size sticker paper for my designs, and not being able to use that bottom section of the sticker paper was really mind-boggling to me. The software simply just can't do a print and cut that's bigger. Now, I know that there are hacks to get around this, but for something like the Cricut machine, for something that is so expensive, you shouldn't need to do hacks. Now with the Silhouette, it is super easy to cut an entire A4 sheet. You can even cut an A3 sheet with absolutely no problem. Silhouette doesn't have a limitation when it comes to doing a print and cut. So for somebody who owns a sticker shop, you know the value of price per sheet. So not being able to cut on that bottom part of your sticker paper is really, really wasteful and kind of basically equates to just business loss. When you're running a sticker shop, you basically want to be able to cut as many stickers as possible per sheet. By not being able to use that bottom part of the paper, it's almost like throwing away money. And that alone was enough for me to switch over from my Cricut to my Silhouette. So the Cricut software is actually really limiting. When you're doing a cut, you can kind of only choose one pressure setting for an entire cut. There isn't a way to assign different pressure settings to different areas of your file. However, with the Silhouette software, you can actually do this. You can assign different pressure settings to the different paths in your file. So for example, if you wanted to cut out the stickers on a sticker sheet and then cut out the sticker sheet itself from the paper, you can actually do that. Silhouette makes it super, super easy to assign different pressure settings to different paths in your file. Cricut software at the moment doesn't have the capability at all to do this. If you use Cricut software, you can only use one pressure setting for an entire cut. The other thing I really like about my Silhouette is the ability to just have one blade to do all of my cuts. If you're using a Cricut, you have to change out the blade depending on the depth of your cut. If you want to do a really deep cut, you have to use a different kind of blade as opposed to a more shallow cut. And this is something that you have to manually change out yourself. Now my Silhouette Cameo 4 has an auto blade. It basically just has one blade that can do it all. And I know this is only available in the newer models, but this is something that I actually really, really love. I don't have to change out the blade depending on the kind of cut that I want. The machine just automatically does it for me. And there were many times when I was using my Cricut that I actually forgot to change out the blade, and I accidentally used a much deeper blade than I wanted to. So something like my sticker sheet ended up being individual stickers when that was actually not my intent. So I just really love and appreciate my auto blade on my Silhouette. So I don't have to change out the blade. I can just set all of those things directly inside of the Silhouette software. Now speaking on the software itself, the Silhouette software is so much more robust. If you've ever used Adobe Illustrator, it'll be really easy for you to get into Silhouette software because they are very, very similar. Silhouette software uses paths, so you have a pen tool that you can use. A lot of the hotkeys are the same as well, so it'll feel really familiar to you if you've ever used Adobe Illustrator. Now with Cricut Design Space, if you wanted to adjust a cut path in Cricut, you would have to just re-upload the image again. With Silhouette, you don't have to do that. You can actually just go ahead and edit that directly in the software. I think a really big difference here also is just to mention that the way that Cricut determines where to cut is basically through transparencies. It uses transparencies to know where to cut. With Silhouette software, it actually uses paths, so that allows you to edit your paths, to adjust any cutting that you need, to actually just remove areas that you don't want to have cut, and it makes it really, really easy. So while I do use only my Silhouette nowadays, there are some things I do still like about the Cricut machine that I still think are worth mentioning. One of the things I really do love about the Cricut machine is the aesthetic of it. I would say that the Cricut machine is visually, aesthetically more pleasing. I really love the design of it. It looks really pretty. It has a nice teal color that I absolutely love. It looks like a much nicer machine, and it's also a little bit more compact than my Silhouette Cameo 4. The other thing I really love about my Cricut in comparison to my Silhouette is that my Cricut machine is way quieter when cutting stickers than the Silhouette. After using my Cricut machine for more than a year, I was quite used to having it just in the middle of the room and letting it run and cut stickers while I was doing other things, like watching TV or, you know, drawing or whatever. My Silhouette, on the other hand, the first time I used my Silhouette, I thought it was broken because it was so loud. The Silhouette machine is super loud in comparison to the Cricut. I have my Silhouette in the corner of the room and I still can't do anything else or listen to anything else at the same time unless I have headphones on. I can't watch TV, my partner can't play games at the same time because the mic picks up the sound of the Silhouette even though it's on the opposite side of the room. It is just significantly louder, and it's one of the things I really dislike about the Silhouette actually, because I can't really watch TV at the same time, and that really sucks. Looking at both of the machines, actually, the actual hardware of both of them, I do think that the Cricut is actually better built. I feel like the equipment inside is much better. The motor that runs the cutting is actually quieter. It's just overall a much nicer piece of hardware. However, the lack of features within the software make the Cricut, even though it's an amazing piece of hardware, kind of useless. You can't really tell it to do different pressures, you can't really customize it, you can't cut a really big piece of paper. In an ideal world, I would love to use my Cricut machine with the Silhouette software. That would be perfect for me, but of course that's just not an option. The other thing I also do want to mention is that, and I feel like this will be a point of discussion here, but I actually do think that even though my Cricut cannot cut a big piece of paper, I think that the registration and the calibration on it is more accurate and more consistent than the Silhouette. I've kind of noticed with my Silhouette that when I cut sticker sheets at different times, so if I cut something like today and then cut something tomorrow, the exact same sticker sheet, sometimes the cuts are a little bit different. I'm not sure if that has to do with the settings of my file or something like that, but if I use the exact same file on different days, for some reason, sometimes the cuts are slightly different. However, regardless of which one I use, I've never really had any really big calibration issues with either of them. I have had some bumps with the Silhouette though when it does come to cutting. It's not really a calibration issue. It seems like it doesn't sync up the settings correctly because the cuts will be just completely off. Like it forgot that I adjusted something. And in that case, I have to restart the Silhouette software and then it works perfectly fine. However, because I can cut out a bigger piece of sticker paper with my Silhouette and I have all the options of the pressure settings, I feel like that outweighs this small problem I very rarely have. So this is something I do want to mention because I do think that my Cricut is a little bit more consistent and more accurate when it comes with the calibration, but in general I haven't really had problems with either. I have had people mention that they've had calibration issues with both the Silhouette and the Cricut, so I don't really think one wins out with the other, but I do think that the Cricut is a little bit more consistent. However, the Silhouette is still fantastic and I would still recommend it over the Cricut just because of the app settings, being able to cut out a bigger piece of sticker paper, and also just being able to adjust all of your pressure settings. I have also occasionally had some connection issues with my Silhouette. So I use Bluetooth on both the Cricut and my Silhouette, and I feel like I lose connection with the Silhouette a little bit more frequently than I ever had with my Cricut. Now that might be because my Cricut usually sat right behind me on my computer and the Silhouette is a few meters farther away, but I feel like that shouldn't really make a big difference, but it's so rare that I don't really think it's a really big issue. I feel like that kind of happens with everything I own, including my printers, my mouse that's Bluetooth, my keyboard, like headphones, stuff like that. So I don't really think that it's a unique thing about the Silhouette, but I do feel like it does happen a little bit more frequently than I ever did with the Cricut. So should you get a Silhouette then if you already have a Cricut? I would say that if you're just doing it for a hobby, that no, I don't think you actually need to switch over to a Silhouette. I still believe that you can do all of the crafting things that you want to do with your Cricut. You might just not have some of the capabilities I mentioned earlier. However, if you are a sticker shop and you cut out stickers all the time, I would definitely recommend switching over from a Cricut to a Silhouette. I do think that in the long run, your Silhouette's going to take you way farther, especially because you can cut out more stickers per sheet. So even though I use my Cricut for an entire year quite reliably, I won't be going back to it unless they make some really big changes to Cricut Design Space. I really want the ability to do a larger print and cut. I want to be able to control the pressure settings of my cuts, and basically I want the capabilities of the Silhouette software with my Cricut. But until then, I will still be using my Silhouette machine, and I might even invest in a second one because it has just made the process of making stickers so much faster and so much more efficient for me. So I hope that video was helpful and gave you some answers about whether or not you should be going with a Cricut or a Silhouette. I know that I switched over from my Cricut to my Silhouette and I haven't looked back since. I do really love my Silhouette despite how loud it is, and I think that for anybody who owns a sticker shop that it'll take you a lot farther in the long run. If you have any questions, please go ahead and leave them down in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. And if you liked the video and you did find it helpful, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It really helps me grow my channel and also helps me know that these are the kinds of videos that you want and I should be doing more of them. So I think that about wraps it up. Thank you again for watching and I will see you next week. Bye.